Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Early Morning Barking Podcast, talking about BPD and MPD by somebody that has both. I hope I find you well. I hope you had a good Christmas and a good New Year and all of that. Today we're talking about BPD explosive anger. This is a tricky one for me, and I probably displayed it many, many times, but it's difficult for me to decipher where and when I did it, and I have a kind of method for figuring it out. Let me explain. So I have BPD and MPD, and both of these come with their own unique brand of rage and anger. And it's difficult to tell which one is going off at any given moment, right? I mean, who knows? I'm raging, I'm angry, and we don't stop to analyze these things in the moment, which is half the problem, of course, but there you go. So what is it that sets these two rages apart? And for me, it's about the motivation behind it. The explosive anger in MPD is far more hateful. It's far more personal. It wishes to hurt and harm a lot more. But in BPD, it comes from a place of disappointment, of sadness, of despair. And it wants to lash out at the world, but in a more cry for help kind of way. And it's all well and good me describing these things like this as I sit here now. From the outside, they both look identical. Who knows? I mean, rage is rage is rage. Anger is anger. This is one of those things. And they come from such a place of hurt and wanting to lash out at the world. Like I say, they're really a cry for help. They're really a cry for help. They're about, with BPD explosive anger, it's about trying to make people understand how you're feeling because you're having such trouble getting it out. And for me, it was about making somebody else see what pain I was in. And the frustration came when people didn't see that. They just see an angry person. It's a really bad form of communication, as you might expect. How can it be any good? Why should anybody listen to you when you're just raging at them? And yet we can't get it out any other way. These feelings are so deep, so complex, so undecipherable to us at the moment, that the best thing we can do to think of to get them out, to communicate them, is to perform them. And that comes out as rage and anger and hate and despair and sadness and all those negative emotions, because this is what we feel on the inside. These are all of those problems coming out in shouting form. And that's where this explosive anger comes from. It's a release valve, is let go, and we need to get it out. We need to say something. We need to do something. We're saying, help me, I'm in pain. This is the pain I'm in. And all we're doing is hurting the people that are closest to us, that are around us, even strangers sometimes. Because any opportunity to unload this burden that we feel, this pain that we're struggling with constantly, what else are we supposed to do with that? Who can possibly understand that feeling like we do? Surely it's unique to us. That's kind of what it feels like. No one else is raging. No one else seems to be in so much pain. You know, part of the eye-opening experience of going to group for the first time was realizing that there are other people with that pain. There are other people who go through that experience, who have that explosive anger. And in actual fact, you start to realize that maybe a lot of people who have explosive anger are going through this. Maybe it is a communication of what pain I'm in. It doesn't justify it, though. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't mean that we can be immediately forgiven for all the harm that we've caused when we've had this rage. But I don't know to what degree we're responsible for it. But certainly, this is the stuff that is difficult for other people to get over, and I understand that. This is the stuff that makes us volatile, difficult to live with, that makes other people walk on eggshells around us. Scared, we're like a ticking time bomb sometimes. But the truth is, when somebody is exhibiting that behavior, aren't they in a lot of pain? Isn't there something inside them that needs to come out in a less harmful way? That's again what I got out of therapy. That was that experience. It was about learning to find what those pains are. Asking yourself, if you're in pain and communicating that pain, what are you saying? What hurts? What is making it hurt? All these questions. There's so many questions, aren't there? I know that. It's part of why it's not easy. It's part of what's so hard about it. Because there's a lot to unpack, and that is daunting. That is why it's so difficult to talk about it. Why it comes out as just a big explosion of anger, because it's so difficult to communicate. And you have to start picking away at the edges, tapping away, chipping away, hoping that you can pull a thread and it will lead you somewhere. And it can do, and it will do. And that's, that was my experience. It was all about unpicking, about finding where this pain comes from. What am I really angry at? Because I was never justifiably angry at a situation or a person. Everything was over the top. Everything was too much. Everything was embarrassing to the people with me, and noisy and public, and so much stuff. It was just too much. It wasn't reasonable anger that I was exhibiting. I was in pain. So why? Where was that coming from? And for me, it was coming from just so many places. I mean, pick a context. There was so much pain. It's difficult to start listing it all. Pick an aspect of life, and I probably had pain about it. Right? Work life, home life, relationships, family, life achievements. All these things were pain to me. And it was just coming out in such negative, angry ways at my partner, at my family, at my friends, at members of the unsuspecting public. I was a nightmare. And it wasn't until I started to get a handle and taking each individual thing and unpacking, why am I angry at that? Why am I angry in this context? Why am I so quick to anger at this? Why is this a trigger for me? There were so many things like that. And it took years to unpack them. I wish I could just tell you a thing to do and then you do it and you're fine. And it takes 10 minutes. But the truth is, it takes years. It takes a long, long time and a lot of work and a lot of introspection to discover where this pain comes from. And why it's coming out of you in the way that it does. And maybe you'll need to find some sort of safe place to let it out verbally. And I don't mean shouting at someone that lets you. I mean positively communicating and analyzing these feelings, which might involve therapy for you. I mean, as always, my advice is go and see a medical professional, go and seek therapy, seek help. Go and find the right situations to do this. And always, as I repeat, friends are not therapy. It's a very different thing, and you can't expect friends to go through that, so you need to find that kind of help. So if you like, go and check and see what I said about this. On the 25th of July 2020, the video this topic comes from, back on the Early Morning Barking YouTube channel, I probably have awful lockdown hair in it once again. Because that is the middle of the awful lockdown. I'm bringing it up. Yes, I do. I have awful lockdown hair. There you go. There's a little treat for you. Me and the awful lockdown hair. Failing that, go and check me out on TikTok at Early Morning Barking, on Instagram at Early Morning Barking, on Twitter at Barking. Early Morning Barking was too long for Twitter. And Patreon at patreon.com/earlymorningbarking. You lot take care. You're all awesome, and I wish you the best of luck and happiness and all that. And I'll see you for another Early Morning Barking podcast. See you later. Bye-bye.